My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you be cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and today my guest is Katie Decker Erickson. She's a multifamily and commercial interior and exterior designer, the founder of Colorworks, a design firm known for transforming residential and commercial spaces with intentionality and style. She's got nearly 2 decades of experience. She helps developers and property owners elevate their assets through color strategy, interior branding, market-focused design, and she is the host of the Success by Design podcast. And that's a whole lot of words, but she's got a lot of cool stuff. And with that, Katie, thanks for coming and hanging out today.
Thanks. Honored to be here.
So you and I actually met because of Ron Stouffer, who has also been on the podcast, and you and I hit it off immediately. It was awesome. So we had the event that you guys were doing a couple months back, and it's like, oh yeah, we definitely need to continue this conversation. So you and I've had a couple calls since then. So I know I kind of butchered your intro here a little bit. I'm going to apologize for that. This is why Eli doesn't read things.
It's all good.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about kind of what is Colorworks and how you're helping your clients.
Yeah, great question. So Colorworks was started, it's hard to believe, almost 2 decades ago, 20 years. 2 decades sounds so nice. 20 years just sounds like you're old, right? We've been doing this for a hot minute is the point. But it was really born out of my own desire and really frustration with real estate. I was fixing and flipping properties in Phoenix. And this was back before 2008, obviously.
Okay.
And
I was there then.
Oh, no way. Uh-huh. That's hilarious. Where were you in Phoenix?
Over on the Avondale side.
Okay. Yeah. No, so I was over on the 38th Street Indian School side.
Okay.
That's hilarious. A small world. So yeah, we probably crossed each other on the 51 a few times.
Probably.
But yeah, so long story short, I just got really frustrated with trying to find design that was efficient, effective, that understood an ROI methodology. Mm-hmm. I'm not here just to make this pretty. It has to rent for a higher price point than what I'm buying it for. And I just couldn't find it. I had also finished my MBA at that time. And I thought, forget it. I'm just going to do it myself. And so that's how it all started. It really was a frustration business start. And about 3 years into it, I decided, I was doing residential, single family residential. And I was like, I just don't want to do single family residential anymore. I really want to work on the projects where it really is about the ROI. What is the budget? Bringing it in on time. And so I fell in love with multifamily and commercial work and segued out of single family residential. We've kind of gone back to because of build to rent communities. Right. So we still do BTRs, but just single family one-offs we just don't do anymore. And I'm so grateful because this is my happy place, especially as people are going to be renting for a really long time based on interest rates and market realities.
Right. No, definitely. Now, I want to talk to you about on the commercial side, because a lot of times we have a lot of people that are solopreneurs, and we're going to talk about how, you and I talked about this, how are we going to make our place much more appealing in a lot of areas. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we get there, we're thinking about what is it that makes a commercial office space more attractive, more welcoming, more inviting, a better, more productive place to work. And I'd love to have you share some thoughts and ideas in that arena, because I do know that a lot of our listeners are in that area. And it's one of those things that doesn't get thought about too much. Even for me, it's I'm cool. Give me a desk and some lights, and I don't really care beyond that. But I know that that's, for other people, that's not going to be as effective as it could be. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm so glad you brought it up, because the reality is we're spending more time at work than ever, right? We've also done numerous studies and found that people who sit under fluorescent lights every day have the same cortisol levels as jet fighters. We are human beings. We are organic. We have water and cycles going on in our body and all of these things that mimic nature But we create these artificial environments typically in office design, and then we ask people to be creative and to problem solve and to even thrive in them. And there's no way that's going to happen, right? And so beginning, and the shift is underway, but just beginning to appreciate that office environments really need to be designed around the end user rather than just creating something that's beautiful or that's on brand or that allows us to pack as many people in as we can. Think back like all the hoteling that came out of the COVID era, and everyone got their little cubicle and slid their sign in whichever cubicle they were in for the day. Like people need a spot to call home. And just like your personal residence, your office residence needs a lot of the same elements. So whether it's lamps like over my shoulder that you're seeing, whether it's plants, we need plants. And it doesn't have to be real ones. Just FYI, if you're a plant killer, I love you anyway. That's totally fine. You can have a faux plant and have it create the same effect, right? But all of those elements, different textures, different colors, all of those speak to us at a subliminal level that bring us back into an environment that mimics nature. This is why biophilic design has become such a thing. We do better in nature. And if we can bring the outdoors in, we find that people are better creatives, they're better problem solvers,
Mhm.
and they just do better in general.
Right. That's awesome. I think you were calling me out with the plant killer thing. I got a money tree downstairs that's just hanging on for dear life, and I'm trying to help it, but I don't think it's going to make it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's very sad.
I'm
So
sorry.
you said the term is biophilical.
Biophilic design.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
educate us on that one because that's not a term that I know of anything about.
Yeah, it's really nature design and letting nature drive the design. So,
Okay.
if you look at whether it's the patterns in nature, think of like a honeycomb and those octagonal patterns, or whether it's the colors you see in nature. One that I love to talk about is color. If you go outside and you walk out your front door, you're going to start with the darkest at the bottom. You have dirt, right? That's going to migrate into greens. And then eventually you move your way up into the blues. And then clouds, being the lightest and brightest, are at the top. This is why when we step into a building that has a black ceiling, we all go, "Ugh," right? Like something doesn't feel right here. No, it doesn't feel right because under biophilic design, we are not designed to have a big black thing on top of our
Mhm.
head. It feels very backwards because it's not designed in keeping with nature. And so biophilic design and the science, like even the physical science of design has changed so dramatically in the last few years. There's this other term called ontological design. I'm going to totally geek out on you. But it's the idea that not only are we designing spaces, but it's actually a loop, and those spaces are designing us back. So when you take the idea of someone walking into an elevated space and their behavior changing without them even realizing it, that's
Mhm.
the space designing them back. And their patterns and their behaviors are changing based on that space. And so if we start thinking about biophilic, bringing nature in, we start thinking about elevating spaces so people within them elevate. These things happen. We're not even realizing it's going on, except for it's quantifiable in the outputs, in the behavior, in the productivity, and in really just how the person acts and behaves and stays in that space.
Okay. So, from it, like, say, for instance, an office environment kind of situation,
Mm,
what does that look like? What are some of the things that we should be considering? Whether it be, okay, I have my desk. What can I do? And then maybe
yeah.
as the owner of, the business or whatever, what could I do at that situation too?
Great question. So let's start with your desk. First of all, you may not be able to change the overhead lights, but you can change like the lamps behind, right? Huge difference. And you can control your lighting. Put a plan up there, put something you love up there. Three or four different pieces can so dramatically change how you function and how you live in that space, right? Are you a naturally really cluttered person? And I will say a lot of my creativity, like you can see over here, I have different clutter piles of different things, but they're right at my fingertips. So I know how to operate. If that's how you function, live in that space and that's okay. You are not failing. You have complete permission to do so. I know people who have piles and piles and they can tell you where in pile 22, three stores down, there's exactly what they're looking for, right? Everybody's brains works differently, but I would say take control over the space that you have. Look for that biophilic element. It can be as simple as one plant. And we have found that people literally, who take their eyes off their screen, look at that plant, and I'm looking over there because my green plant's right over there. If you take your eyes and you allow it to rest on the green recalibrates actually your brain and your eyes so that the blue light coming off of your screen is less damaging to you. If you do that every 15 to 20 minutes, that makes a huge difference. Also, light temperature. So these light bulbs behind me are at 2700 K, and light runs from about 0 to 5,000. 5,000 lights you've probably seen. Little old ladies love them. They're bright, screaming, loud blue lights, right? And you feel like you're standing on the face of the sun even at midnight. So those are super abrasive. They tend to be used where you have storage units, security issues, things like that. And then you do have the true old fashioned granny lights that have the yellow glow in the lamp. And those tend to be more about a 2000. We talk about tunable lighting. And whether this is the lamp at your desk or whether you own the office space, I so recommend figuring out what light setting you need to bring it to a comfortable level for you. And most light bulbs now, including the ones in Costco, you can even tune them and choose your temperature so that you find something that feels good to you. And that is probably the biggest, most important thing is lighting. I'm a lighting nerd, but I think when you can control that, you can really control your environment in so many ways.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's I mean I've noticed that when I just go to buy light bulbs, you can buy them
Yeah.
in different temperatures. And like the lights
Yep.
that I use here, I have control over that. I have the cool little remote that lets me adjust it however I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also why there's a whole row of lights at Home Depot, which is all changing because now there's just a little toggle switch at the base of your light bulb and you get to pick now what light
Interesting. So I
feels good
haven't
to
seen
you.
those yet, but it's been a while since I bought
Oh,
light
they're
bulbs.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
they're really cool.
it's, I think that that is something that is really good to see because when you realize that the temperatures of the lights actually will drain you. And
100%.
yeah, and a lot of times people don't realize that. I come from a music background where we dealt with lighting and we used to
Mm.
have the gels that we put on everything, which I'm
Yes,
sure
I
you
haven't
know
thought
about
about
the gels
gels
for
in
sure.
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I still have some buried somewhere.
that's awesome.
But it's so much, and even diffusing the light so it's just not as
Yeah,
harsh. I
yeah,
think that people don't realize these things do make a really big difference. And from an office standpoint, I always see it. For me, I'm the one that I'm kind of a little weird one that enjoys the darker colors. I live kind
yeah,
of like a vampire most of the time, so
yeah,
my lights are bright here because that's what works for the camera and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
generally speaking, I'll turn the lights off. I have it like nice and subtle most of the time, and that's where my comfort zone is.
Totally. Even your choice in words is so interesting. Nice and subtle. Like to you, that's a feeling of safety and warmth, and it feels good to be in that space. I have it after living in Phoenix for almost 10 years. I'm like, can somebody give me a sun out here? We need some sun. We need some warmth. We need some more sun and some more warmth when it gets dark at 3:30. I'm
Well, you're in
just
the
like,
Pacific Northwest now, right? Isn't that
yes, and it
that's
gets
what I
dark
thought?
at
Yeah.
3:30 in January. And you're just
Hmm.
like, are we gonna make it through another winter?
Yeah.
Because you
Phoenix,
really
it gets dark in like February.
yeah. Yeah, 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 which is, like, my favorite. I'm there for that 100%.
Yep.
But it's interesting too when we think about, like, neurodivergence and the amount of people that are neurodivergent, and especially, autism and different spectrum disorders came online probably what? I mean, in a significant way 20, 30 years ago. A lot
Mhm.
of those kids that were in 1st, 2nd grade, they're in the workforce now. And
Right.
so when we talk about creating environments in the workforce that are specifically designed to allow people to adapt and accounts for different levels of that neurodivergence, one thing that is interesting is biophilic design tends to work no matter what type of neurodivergence you have. People love plants. It's very rare you find that that doesn't work, or elements of texture and whatnot. There are some sensory issues, don't get me wrong, but when we bring biophilic into to a neurodivergent workspace, it tends to work extremely well, especially if
Okay.
we know what type of neurodivergence we're working with. But yeah, you think about that, and especially the tunability of light, the intensity of light,
Mhm.
huge. And one thing that seems to be categorically true is no matter what, it doesn't matter the business. When you go by the accounting department, they all want it dark. Like, I don't know if accountants are vampires in another life, but I mean, that's something we always think about, especially when it comes to finance, is they really prefer a darker environment. Typically,
Mhm.
it's very rare they want something bright.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's entertaining to think about, but the different personality types are going to take a little bit. A lot of times people
Yeah,
don't realize that.
yeah,
But I think that it's great to bring this out because if you don't understand, it's like, okay, you've got an office, you're in an office. Well, obviously, you're in a cubicle in the farm. There's not a whole lot
Yeah.
you can do because you've got basically nothing separating you. But if you have a real office, you can make your office yours and you can make those adjustments but pretty easy, really, as long as the boss doesn't complain too much. And as the boss, let your people do what they need to do.
100%. And I think COVID too has changed a lot of that because we're even seeing, and this was an interesting personnel and design challenge to work through, but an accounting department where they actually created their own lid for their cubicle. These exist now where you can buy them straight off of Amazon, and it basically filters out and creates a tent over your cubicle so that you don't have the light coming off the fluorescence. And the complaint was, and there were like 2 or 3 people in the accounting department who were like, we can't do the fluorescence, it's too much. And they all bought these tents. So it did start looking like tent city and a homeless problem in the accounting department. But their point is well made, in that they needed some light mitigation to be able to control it. And I mean, there's entire industries being born out of this now because they realize, hey, if you're going to spend 40 to 60 hours here, we probably need to give you a way to control your environment in some way. And it's hard. Space heaters, like how many new office buildings allow for space heaters? Not a lot. It's a liability problem. It's all the things. But how do you allow them to control temperature, control light, control
Mhm.
access to greenery? This is why office windows are still a premium, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves over time. It's the whole idea of alone together after COVID. We want our space. We want to create what we want to create that feels good to us, but we also crave connection in some way, but we want to choose it. And
Mhm.
how do you do that in an office environment? And these are all things that we're thinking about behind the scenes as we're designing, because it's different. It's different than it was when you used to just report in.
Right. Well, like for me, you're talking about the tent over the cubicle thing. And it was like back in the day when I actually had a real job, that
Yeah.
would have been totally been me because I'm just like, let me do my job, leave me alone, no excuses, no distractions. If I can just close it off and make it so nobody sees me, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. I'm with
And
you. I
that's,
shut my door a lot. I
oh,
just
yeah.
wanted, I've got stuff to do. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not here for the office chit chat, water cooler. We got stuff to do. They're like,
Yep.
"Are you in there?" I'm like, "I'm always in here. I'm just working.
I'm always here. So what do
I'm
you
always
mean?
here."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I live alone now, so I don't have to worry about it, but yeah, back before my door was closed almost all the time because
Yeah.
I like it a lot warmer, so I
Yes,
had the
me
space
too.
heater in my office, and so then it would like, my daughter used to make fun of me, she'd walk in, she's like, "This is like walking into a sauna," and I'm like, "Yes, it's beautiful, isn't it?" And as soon as I walk out, I'm like, "Brr, where's my parka?"
Oh, it's
So
so true. I still keep a space heater in I mean, here we are in August. My space heater is right beneath my desk and I still have a blanket. Like, I love 80. 80 is a beautiful temperature
Mhm.
regardless of season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that totally. This is good, and it's good to think about this stuff because we don't think about this stuff enough. And I want
We
to shift
don't.
gears a little bit because, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring on here because some of the stuff you do, and I read stuff you post on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and I was
Oh,
like,
thanks.
this is the kind of stuff people need to think about more often.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that we have, especially listening to the show, are solopreneurs, so they are working from home. So let's talk about that. We kind of covered the big base side of it, but
Yeah.
how do we? Okay, I got my home office. How do I make that more inviting, more comfortable, more productive
Mm.
by myself? I'm
Yeah.
not dealing with a company, so I
Yeah.
can do whatever I want.
Yes.
But for somebody, my design skills have to do with what's on the computer, not with what's in my room.
Yeah, totally get that. 150%. And I'm so glad because like my design skills are more in space than on the computer
Yep.
for real. I mean, don't get me wrong, we design on computers, but I love seeing tangible, which is why like even the bookshelves behind me, like all
Mhm.
of them are representative. Like I can tell you the project that got that wallpaper right there was actually in Phoenix. Like all of them represent something somewhere along the way. Are the Dutch shoes right up there? Those are
Okay.
my Dutch
Yep.
heritage because my grandparents immigrated from Holland in 1950 and came to the United States with literally nothing and signed in at Ellis Island and started their American dream, which they got to see come to fruition, which is really neat. But I share that because I think it's so important you have elements of who you are. And that it doesn't have to represent the rest of your home. I just want to give you complete freedom over that. Your office, because you're going to spend a significant amount of time in that, should be representative of who you are and what you love. Bring in those biophilic elements. You'll see there's a plant. We got another plant. I have to reverse my pointing here, but another plant over here, right? All of these things, my favorite books that I love to share with my coaching clients are up here that I pull down. But these are like representative of really things that I love. I do keep my hard hat invest here because there are site walks. In fact, I'm headed out on one tomorrow that happens to be locally, even though we work coast to coast. But they're all things and they're tools that I use. So there's the functional and there's also the form. Good design should have both. So have your functional elements that you need to do your job. These are actually a couple of fan decks that I use. And then also have the form or the story of your office and who you are. It's a great conversation point when you get on Zoom calls because obviously if you're working from home, you're probably going to be on at least one or two of those a day, right? And so it gives people a point of reference as to who you are and what you're about. And it's a great segue in, a great icebreaker. And then look at your lighting. Start looking at your lighting and saying, okay, what do I want the temperature to be? Because I have overhead can lights up here, but they're on a dimmer. I installed a dimmer over here. It's like $15. And then I can control how bright those are. And then I can mitigate with some decorative lighting behind me. If you're like, Katie, this sounds great. I have no idea where to start. You do this all day. And my biggest tip is pick one thing. All you need is one thing. So this design was actually born, and I'm going to slide out of the way here off of this painting right here. So we started with the navies and the whites and then integrated the wallpaper, brought in the bookshelves. That's actually a silhouette of one of my two daughters back here. But that's how we started. And so if it's a throw pillow that you love, if it's a piece of art that you love, whatever it is, start there and start building out from there. And then think about those items that you would find in nature. Bring in your plants, control your lighting, find some good art, and you will know intuitively. And we don't do intuition very well in our culture. We sit back and we go, oh, what's the logic and the rationale for this? And I want to say, no, no, drop the logic and rationale. Yes, you need the function, but also sit back and say, how does it feel? And give yourself the space to say, I freaking love this, or this isn't turning out the way I want. I need one more thing. And that is a-okay to do that because this is going to be your space. There's not a right or a wrong. It's what feels good to you when you're in it that allows you to sustain and create in a meaningful way.
Right. I love that. And you said something I think is really important because I bring this up
Mm.
with people, especially when it comes to people are always asking me about my video setup, like what
Yes.
camera, what lighting, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I always tell people, start with one thing. You don't
Yep.
have to do it all at once.
No.
And I think that you just said that's like I think that's a really critical thing that people need to just think about. It's like, okay, what if you could just, set up a bookshelf that have your favorite books or the ones that you talk about all the time? That could be
Yeah.
your starting point. Get a plant. I mean, something simple.
Seriously.
If you're
Yeah.
like me, get a fake one. But that's the beauty of stuff like this is it
Uh,
doesn't have to be this complete major thing. I mean, yes, anybody could come in and, brings, Katie in to completely revamp everything for them, which she would
sure.
love to do,
Yeah.
but you don't have to start there. Start with a couple little basic things. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to add this. Now we're going to add that. I mean, even for me downstairs in my living room, I have it more of a Japanese theme because
Love it.
I've gone into a lot more Bushido.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you about this. I got into Bushido,
No.
which is the code of the samurai, and there's a
I
whole
love
history
that.
behind that. Um,
Ah, that's
and
cool.
so I now have my wall hangings are like tapestry kind of things,
Nice.
and the money plant was supposed to be part of it, but now it's just kind of pitiful. But I'm
Oh, I wish
adding
I
like
could
one
give
piece
you
at a time.
mine. I just literally, like, took my money plant and had to split it because it was out of control, and I donated one because it was getting too big. I need to, like, mail you my money plant starter.
If you could, that would be wonderful. Hopefully, I
I
can
so
take care of
will.
it. But
Oh,
and then of
great.
course, anybody who follows me has followed me for a while. I'm an archer as well, so I have one of
Yeah.
my bows hanging up. I have this stuff, and I've added one piece at a time, and
Yeah.
eventually, it'll be the perfect place. In the meantime, it's just one piece at a time, but it looks pretty cool, and it's getting better all the time.
Well, and I would say too, to your point earlier about, making sure that you have the lighting in the space and like how you like to live in a dim and that feels warm and cozy to you environment.
Mhm.
When you have control of your own setting and you work from home, you have this beautiful opportunity to create ergonomics that really work for you. And especially as I get older and like my body changes, I like comfort. I never understood why my mother owned a pair of Birkenstocks and now I have four. But I really do crave comfort and like spaces that feel good to my body. So, if you're going to spend money on something, go buy a fabulously amazing chair. And that has nothing to do with price point. That has to do with what feels good to your body. Does it have
Right.
enough lumbar support? Is it the right height? Are you 5'2"? Because do you know they make a petite office chair? And you should probably invest in that because your feet have been dangling off the floor and your legs have been going numb for a really long time, right? And by the same token, they make a big and tall because I'm 5'9", and it's really nice to have a chair that's tall enough to support like me being 5'9". Most women
Right.
are not 5'9". And so finding the ergonomic spaces that feel good to you is so important. I love my stand to sit desk or sit
Mhm.
to stand desk. I have a $150 walking pad that I got off Amazon, and I try to do 7,000 steps on that thing a day while I'm returning emails because motion is lotion, especially as you age. Don't be stuck in just
Right.
that really fabulously ergonomically correct chair. But think about, how do you want to move your body in this space every day, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to get in your 7,000 steps? Because then you should have a sit to stand desk. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Again, it could be like $500. They're out there. Um, Thinking through strategically, how do I want my body to operate and feel in this space, and designing out of that. And this is
Mhm.
what I'm talking about with end user design, starting with that end user and then designing out of that, as opposed to saying, I just want my next design to be on the front of Architectural Digest or
Right.
Architecture Today, right? Like it really has to be. And when you control the environment, you really have the luxury of being able to create something unique to you.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I know, a lot of people, I've seen them put a lot into it. If you're on Zoom quite a bit, it does stand out. It looks cool if you have a
Mhm.
good office setting. For
Totally.
me, I like the green screen because I can do all kinds of cool, crazy techie stuff with it. Um,
Absolutely.
now,
Yeah.
when I have a place that I'm not renting, I'm going to have my green screen on a pull up so I can make it go away when I want to as well.
Cool.
But
You're
I'm
giving
in
me
a
ideas.
Oh, we should talk about that. That'd be so fun. But unfortunately, I'm in a rental and I'm not going to pay for that much for them to fix everything once I did it. So we're not going to do
I
that
feel
here.
that.
But it's there's so many things you can do with it, and the
Mhm.
great thing is that you're doing it to make it more comfortable for you. Because like for me, I'm here to focus and get my work done, and that's where I am with most of it. So I do have the standing desk. If you see me,
Yeah,
twitching, I'm standing all the time. I don't sit
yeah,
down.
yeah.
I actually originally when I tried the standing desk thing, all I did was get some milk crates on my old desk and just stuck them underneath it, and it worked really, really
Nice.
well.
Yeah,
And I bought a chair because it wasn't going to go up and down, so I bought a bar stool. I never
yeah.
used it, and I was like, okay,
Really?
I guess this works for me. So now here, when I moved here, this is a full desk that goes up and down. I've
Yeah.
never taken it down. I don't even have a chair,
Isn't it
and
great?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that, if you've got that opportunity, outside of the design aspects of it, I think it's a good thing because especially with all the Zooms we're doing, you are more
Yes.
animated and you are more
Yes.
energetic when you're standing. It makes a big difference.
I
Yeah.
totally agree with you 100%. And what's great too is all these sit to stand desks. I mean, they're designed to totally load bear. They're not wimpy anymore. They've gotten to
Yeah.
be so good. Like I have a huge 52-inch screen that I run that's
Mhm.
I mean, it's ginormous, but I'll have like three or four things going at the same time. It can totally handle that. You still have room for a plant. You still have room for, I mean, it really is incredible. But yeah, I think you make a really good point. If you're not sure that's something you want to spend money on and you're still figuring it out, there is no shame in going and getting some milk crates and taking it for a test drive before you
Yeah.
invest some capital in it. I mean,
Oh yeah.
seriously, see if it works for you. Some people do, some people don't. It's really dependent. I will tell you, after standing all day, though, I am tired, and it really this is like ridiculous, but I told my husband about 6 months ago, I was like, "I want a recliner in the living room." He's like, "Oh, no, you're not. No, you are not. You know better than that. You know way better than that." from a design perspective. I'm like, no, there's some really bougie recliners. And I just want something to put my legs up at the end of the day. I've done my
Mhm.
miles. I've been on calls all day. I've been under lights all day. I just really want to sit with my legs up. And I found some great ones that are leather and fabulous. And I brought in one because he was adamant he was not going to participate with his chair. So I brought in one and I sat down in it. And it's fun because our kids are almost 9 and 11. And so they still want to sit on my lap, which I
Yeah.
love. And
Right.
so what happened with the recliner is we got more retail space. So they can
Mhm.
sit on my lap better still. And like we can watch a
Right.
show, read a book. And so after about 6 weeks, he's like, oh gosh, darn it. I'm going to have to get one of those because now the kids don't even want to hang out with me because I don't have the recliner.
That's hilarious.
We're 2 recliners in, Eli. But I mean, I
Yeah.
think just knowing what works for you, your body, your
Mhm.
family, your space, it's just so easy. I think sometimes in a Pinterest world and in an architectural digest world to think if we're not doing that, we're doing it wrong. And there's just
Right.
this fear of, am I doing it wrong? And I just want to tell you, no, you're not. Like, just stop already and go figure out what feels good to you and what works for you.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that one. And, kind of going back with that, it's like, what feels good for you? I have a
Yeah.
love sack.
Right?
If
Aren't they amazing?
for anybody who doesn't know what a love sack is, it's basically the massive beanbag chair, and I got the big one. I got the
It's a
big one.
bougie. It has great support. I don't even know what they put in Love Sacks specifically, but
Yeah.
it's something proprietary that's like memory
Mhm.
foam on steroids. It's
Mhm.
amazing.
It's pretty cool stuff, and I
Yeah.
still have that thing. Totally not, like, design centric, but it's super comfy, and when I'm done, if I'm
Yes.
done for the day, like I said, I stand all day, so when
Yep.
I sit down and usually, again, I'm a bachelor, I'm by myself, so I don't eat at the
Perfect.
kitchen table most of the time. I eat my dinner while I'm watching TV. I
Yep.
go and I sit in my love sack and I chill and I watch TV and enjoy just
Perfect.
totally relaxed.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
again, you just do what works and makes you comfortable. I mean, I think that's the most important thing.
Well, yeah, and I love what you said about too, yeah, how you just whether it's your bow or your samurai theme or just starting with a piece at a time and letting it become a journey. I have a girlfriend who actually grew up in the Northwest and then moved to Egypt and has collected artifacts from around the world.
Ooh,
And
that'd be
she gave them
pretty.
all to her mom, who has a great eye, and she turned it into something fabulous in her house. She has a house back here in the Northwest now, and it's just, you know what, it would have never happened if she just hadn't collected pieces she loves and then put
Mhm.
them together. And that is what makes a home unique. It's not being on the cover of whatever or being the next, my Pinterest pen went viral. Like it's not that. It's about having a place, as my friend Michelle Lynn, who's a great designer out of Dallas says, it's coming home to a place that feels like you're getting a hug. And
Mhm.
everybody needs to have a hug at the end of the day.
Right.
So creating an environment that hugs you, whether it's in your office where you're spending a lot of time, that segues lovely into your home, and that's a sleep sack and watching a great show or love sack and just hanging out, like whatever it is for you, that's beautiful. And
Right.
I think we need to hear that more, especially from designers. I just feel like sometimes it's lost on, well, is this the bougiest? And what did High Point Market have to show? And what did I see at Neocon? And, you know, yes, there's that type of design, but for the average person out there, that isn't what they're looking for.
Right. No, I love it. I love the fact that you're putting out there. It's like, most importantly, what is it that makes you comfortable? What is it that makes you happy? I mean, that's
Yeah.
'cause that's really the important stuff. And we sometimes we forget about it. We see some, the magazines or Pinterest or whatever, and
Mhm.
I don't see it on Pinterest because I'm not on Pinterest. But we see these things that are like, oh, this is the latest, greatest, coolest thing. I have to have it, and we do this in everything that we do in our lives. But when it's your
Sure.
house,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's something that you're truly interested in, cool, go for it. But if it's something that's, if it's not going to make you comfortable and, you know, happy, then yeah, it's not worth it.
Well, and really all design kind of coming full circle back to even like big office settings and whatever. It should all be scaffolding out of that end user. Who
Right.
is the end user? What do they need? Or in a multifamily setting, who is the ideal tenant and how do we give them what they're looking for? Is that a co-work space? Is it that they want a clubhouse with a wind down Wednesday that the property hosts every Wednesday? Is
Mhm.
it whatever it is, let's start with the end user and design out of that instead of trying to force the end user into what we think is best,
Right.
because when we do it that way, it usually fails. But your retention rates, your renewals, your all of that it's not a problem anymore if you
Mhm.
have a marketable, competitive product that really meets the need, even in warehousing, of what that ideal client wants.
All right. I love it. This is awesome stuff. All right. So we are almost at the end of our time here. I got
I
two
can't believe
questions.
that. That flew by.
It did fly by. I knew it was going to be a good conversation.
Oh, I love it.
Before we do the last two questions, I do want to ask you if there's anything else, like any parting words, any final thoughts on this before we finally wrap everything up here.
I would say I tell this to my kids, and it's a little bit off the cuff and straight out of Compton. But I say, "You do you, boo," when they start getting in each other's business and they start rah, 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 rah. But I think the same really applies to design. We're oftentimes so concerned with what Sally Mae has next door, or what the new office building down the street did, or what, and it's so much more important to really do you and understand your market, understand your end user, understand your CapEx goals. What is your ROI that you want out of this? And what are you willing to invest to get you there? When you start doing that, you're just competing against yourself. Now we're in a new game.
Right.
And that's
I
where
love
you
it.
want to be.
I love it. That is awesome. Okay. So as we wrap up, I always have two final questions. Last one's the easy one.
Yeah.
That's how do people get a hold of you? But before we do that,
Okay.
this is the Meet Cool People show. So I
I
always
love that
ask my
name.
guests, what does Meet Cool People mean to you?
I love that. That's such a good question. Meet cool people to me means meeting people that are different and have different perspectives and may not agree or may provide something that I go, I don't know about that. That's a cool person to me. They're probably not drumming to the typical beat. In fact, I was just out in my garage a couple of weeks ago taking some stuff out, and this guy on this bike pulled up out of nowhere and started chit chatting. And I'm like, this is so random. I have no idea who you are. Told me his whole life story about his wife, how he'd been to AA. He'd lost his wife. He realized late in life he was an alcoholic. And we just had this huge existential conversation about life, the meaning of life, all these things. And then I was like, what is your name again? He is the essence of a cool person because he went outside his comfort zone. He had a totally different perspective and he invited me into a conversation that was far different than anything I had expected that day. And a lot like you, Eli, like I love it when cool people come across my path that I'm like, you're different, you're unique. What do you got going on over there? Especially as I get older, that really excites me.
Awesome. I love it. And I think you're just like, oh, you're kind of different. Yeah, that does so definitely describes me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I loved it. It wasn't your standard marketing conversation, right? It was like, no, we have a playbook and a journey book and all these different things. And I thought, that's such a unique perspective. Like, no one's ever approached me with that before. Like, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of for me, it's like this is the best way to
Mm.
explain it because especially
Yeah.
with everything that I do being geeky and Ren Fairy and everything. So we have like the pretty maps and all that kind of stuff. But no, I love that. I love your thoughts on that. It's like one thing that's always stands out for me is when almost all of my guests come back and say something to the effect of the difference of getting to know somebody and what makes them different, what makes them
Mm.
quirky, or what makes them unique. Like so many people
Yeah.
come into that kind of thing, and I love hearing that every time.
Yeah,
So
it is,
that is
especially
awesome.
after COVID. I feel like we just need that so much. We missed that so much. It was so
Oh
much
yeah,
of the same four walls, the same conversations with the same people.
yeah.
Now it's like, give me the unexpected like joy of meeting someone who disagrees or has a different life story, which everybody does, right? Like I
Mhm.
want to hear it.
Yep. No, I love it. That is awesome. Okay, so last question. This is the easy one. How do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and connect?
Oh, I would love that. There's a couple of different ways. The easiest way probably is our website at colorworks.design, just like it sounds, no surprises, no.com. Or also, if you can put in your show notes, our LinkedIn profile, I would love to share that with you. And you can come find me there. And I love conversations. I offer a 15-minute problem solving call. If you're like, I'm stuck on this, let's problem solve it for 15 minutes and see if we can get you through it. Because to your point about cool people and different perspectives, a lot of times people just have a singular little problem and then later on we end up doing something else together, which is kind of fun.
Awesome. I love it. Very, very cool. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming and hanging out today. This was
Mm.
going to be good. I knew it was going to be good, and we had a fun, very fast conversation.
That was way too fast. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the great questions. And thanks for providing this to your audience and for sharing us with them. It means the world.
Awesome. All right. Everybody else, get out there. Have an amazing week. As always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out, let me know. Take care.
And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. Now, if you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rock star.